Have you ever woken up feeling stiff? Joints aching in ways they didn't used to? Maybe you find yourself feeling more tired than you think you should. Or your digestion just isn't as smooth as it once was. It's easy to chalk these things up to just getting older. Isn't it? İstanbul'dur. We accept these little aches and pains, these drops in energy, as an inevitable part of the journey after 60. But what if I told you that much of this discomfort, this underlying sense of not feeling quite right, isn't just about the years passing by? What if a big part of it could be linked, quietly, sneakily, to the very foods you're putting on your plate every day? It's a painful reality that the foods we've enjoyed for years, or even adopted relatively recently, could be working against us without us even realizing it. They could be fueling something beneath the surface called inflammation, which is like a hidden fire smoldering in your body, contributing to those aches, that fatigue, and a whole host of other issues we'd rather avoid. But the good news, the secret I want to share, is that you have more control than you think. By understanding which foods are the main culprits, you can start to make simple shifts that can make a world of difference in how you feel. In this video, we're going to uncover 6 specific foods that are notorious for quietly stoking the fires of inflammation, especially for those of us over 60. We'll talk about why they're problematic and, more importantly, what you can choose instead to help your body feel its best. So please, stay with me until the very end, because there's something important I want to share that might just surprise you and give you a whole new perspective. Let's dive right in and start with the first major food group that can really contribute to that underlying inflammation we talked about. And it might be something you reach for more often than you think, especially when you're thirsty or looking for a quick treat. I'm talking about sugary drinks. Now, when I say sugary drinks, I mean more than just fizzy sodas. This also includes fruit juices that are loaded with added sugar, sweetened teas, sports drinks, and even some coffees and teas from cafes that pile in the syrups and sweeteners. The problem here lies in the sheer amount of added sugar, particularly high fructose corn syrup, that these beverages contain when you consume a lot of sugar, especially in liquid form, where it hits your bloodstream very quickly. It can trigger a complex inflammatory response throughout your body. Think of it this way. Your body isn't really designed to handle such massive, rapid influxes of sugar when it gets overwhelmed. One of the ways it reacts is by kicking off inflammatory pathways over time. If this happens regularly, this chronic low-level inflammation can contribute to all sorts of problems we associate with aging, like joint pain becoming more pronounced. Maybe you notice your memory isn't quite as sharp, or your risk of developing conditions like type 2 diabetes or heart disease increases. For someone over 60 whose body might already be dealing with some level of natural wear and tear, adding this inflammatory burden from sugary drinks is like pouring gasoline on a small fire. Now, it's not just the added sugar itself. The way it's processed in the body matters too. When the liver has to deal with a lot of fructose all at once, it can turn it into fat, a process called lipogenesis. This can lead to fatty liver disease, which in itself is an inflammatory condition, and also contribute to weight gain, particularly around the middle, which is another known driver of systemic inflammation. Furthermore, high sugar intake can mess with your gut bacteria. You know, that incredibly important community of microbes living in your digestive system. An imbalance in gut bacteria, often called dysbiosis, is strongly linked to inflammation, not just in the gut, but throughout the entire body. So, that seemingly innocent can of soda or that large sweetened juice isn't just adding empty calories. It's potentially disrupting your internal balance and promoting inflammation from multiple angles. Let's think about a real-life example. Maybe you enjoy a glass of orange juice with breakfast every morning, thinking it's healthy because it comes from fruit. But many commercial fruit juices are pasteurized, stripped of fiber, and often have added sugars, making them closer in composition to a sugary soda than to eating a whole orange. Or perhaps you have a sweet tea every afternoon. Sipping on these sugary liquids day after day adds up. You might not feel an immediate jolt of pain, but the cumulative effect is what matters. It's that quiet, persistent nudge towards inflammation. What can you do about this? It's actually quite simple, though maybe not always easy if you're used to these drinks. The most effective step is to swap sugary drinks for water. Plain water is the absolute best. If you find plain water boring, try adding slices of lemon, lime, cucumber, or some berries for natural flavor. Unsweetened tea or coffee in moderation are also much better options. If you love juice, try diluting it with water or, better yet, eat the whole fruit instead. Eating a whole orange gives you fiber, which slows down sugar absorption and is great for your gut. Plus all the vitamins and minerals without the concentrated sugar load. Small changes here can have a surprisingly large impact on reducing your inflammatory load. It's about retraining your palate to appreciate less sweetness and prioritizing hydration with substances that actually nourish your body, rather than silently irritating it. Making this switch away from sugary drinks is perhaps one of the simplest yet most powerful steps you can take to start reducing inflammation and just feeling generally better in your own skin as you get older. It's not deprivation. It's choosing something that serves your body better in the long run. Now, moving on from sugary drinks, there's another food category that often makes its way onto our plates, sometimes daily, without us fully considering its impact. This one is particularly sneaky because it's convenient and often seen as a source of protein. But many options in this category are loaded with hidden inflammatory triggers. I'm talking about processed meats. Think about things like sausages, bacon, hot dogs, deli meats like ham and turkey slices, and even some jerky or packaged meat snacks. These products undergo various processes like salting, curing, fermenting, smoking, or adding chemicals to enhance flavor, preserve them, or improve texture, while they can be tasty and convenient. These processes and additives are where the problems for inflammation really begin. One major issue with processed meats is their high content of saturated fat and often unhealthy levels of sodium. While the link between saturated fat and inflammation is still debated and complex, many studies suggest that high intake, especially combined with other unhealthy dietary factors, can contribute to systemic inflammation. The excessive sodium content can contribute to high blood pressure, which is linked to inflammation in the cardiovascular system. But it's not just the fat and salt. Processed meats are often made with animal products from animals raised in conventional systems, meaning the fat profile might be less favorable than from grass-fed or pasture-raised animals, containing a higher ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids, which, in excess, can promote inflammation. However, a really significant concern with processed meats, particularly in relation to inflammation and other health issues, is the presence of compounds formed during processing and cooking. Nitrates and nitrites are often added as preservatives, and while they aren't necessarily inflammatory themselves in their original form, they can be converted into compounds like nitrosamines when cooked at high temperatures, especially grilling or frying. Nitrosamines are known carcinogens and can induce inflammatory responses in the body as it tries to deal with these harmful substances. Additionally, cooking processed meats at high temperatures, just like cooking any meat this way, can form advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. AGEs are compounds that form when proteins or fats react with sugars at high temperatures. When you consume AGEs, they can accumulate in your body's tissues and stimulate inflammatory pathways. They've been linked to oxidative stress and inflammation in various conditions associated with aging, including heart disease, diabetes, and kidney disease. Let's consider a typical breakfast of bacon and sausage or a lunchtime sandwich piled high with deli ham. Enjoying these occasionally isn't likely to cause major problems, but making them a daily habit means you're regularly exposing your body to these inflammatory compounds. You might not feel it immediately, but over weeks, months, and years. This chronic exposure contributes to that underlying inflammatory state. Someone over 60 might notice this manifests as increased joint stiffness in the morning, or maybe a general feeling of sluggishness that they just can't shake. It's like adding small, constant irritants to your system. So, what's the better choice here? It's about shifting away from processed versions towards leaner, less processed protein sources instead of deli turkey. Consider cooking a turkey breast at home and slicing it for sandwiches. Swap breakfast sausages for eggs or plant-based proteins like beans or lentils. If you enjoy bacon, Maybe have it as an occasional treat rather than a daily staple. And look for lower sodium or uncured options if possible, though even those are still processed. Opt for fresh chicken. Fish, especially fatty fish like salmon rich in anti-inflammatory omega-3s. Or plant-based proteins like tofu, tempeh, beans, and nuts more often. When you do cook meat, try lower temperature methods like baking, stewing, or steaming instead of high-heat grilling or frying, which helps reduce the formation of ages and other harmful compounds. Making a conscious effort to reduce your intake of processed meats and choosing whole, less processed protein sources is another vital step in dialing down that inflammatory response and helping your body feel more comfortable and energetic as you navigate life after 60. It's about prioritizing quality over convenience when it comes to your protein sources. Moving on. Let's talk about another group of foods that are incredibly common in our modern diet and are major contributors to inflammation for many people. Especially as we age, these are refined grains. When we talk about refined grains, we mean grains that have been processed to remove the bran and germ, leaving only the starchy endosperm. Think white bread, white pasta, white rice, many breakfast cereals, crackers, pastries, and baked goods made with white flour. While this refining process gives these foods a finer texture and longer shelf life, it also strips away most of the fiber, vitamins, minerals, and beneficial plant compounds that are found in the whole grain. What you're left with is essentially a concentrated source of carbohydrates that are rapidly broken down into sugar in your body. Just like with sugary drinks, consuming a lot of refined grains leads to a rapid spike in blood sugar levels. This triggers your body to release a large amount of insulin to bring the sugar levels down. Over time, these frequent, sharp spikes in blood sugar and insulin can contribute to insulin resistance, a condition where your cells stop responding effectively to insulin. Insulin resistance is strongly linked to chronic inflammation and is a major risk factor for type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and other inflammatory conditions. The rapid digestion and absorption of refined grains also means they don't promote satiety as well as whole grains, often leading to overeating and weight gain, particularly abdominal fat, which, as we've discussed, is pro-inflammatory. Furthermore, the lack of fiber in refined grains is a significant issue for inflammation. Fiber is crucial for a healthy gut microbiome. It acts as a prebiotic, feeding the beneficial bacteria in your gut. These good bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids SCFAs as a byproduct of fiber fermentation, and SCFAs have powerful anti-inflammatory effects throughout the body. When you consume a diet high in refined grains and low in fiber, you're essentially starving those beneficial gut bacteria, leading to a less diverse and potentially pro-inflammatory gut environment. A compromised gut barrier, often associated with an unhealthy microbiome, can also allow inflammatory substances to leak into the bloodstream, further contributing to systemic inflammation. Consider a typical day for someone over 60. Maybe it starts with toast made from white bread or a bowl of sugary cereal, a sandwich on white bread for lunch, and white pasta or rice with dinner, plus crackers or cookies as snacks. This pattern of eating means your body is constantly dealing with blood sugar spikes and missing out on the anti-inflammatory benefits of fiber and the nutrients found in whole grains. You might notice you feel a slump in energy after eating a meal high in refined carbs. Or perhaps you're struggling with digestive issues like constipation. These can be subtle signs that your body is experiencing inflammation or metabolic stress related to your food choices. The good news is the alternative is readily available and delicious whole grains. This means choosing foods made with the entire grain kernel, the bran, germ, and endosperm. Look for labels that say 100% whole wheat, whole oats, brown rice, quinoa, barley, or farro. Swapping white bread for whole wheat bread, white pasta for whole wheat pasta, and white rice for brown rice or quinoa are straightforward changes. Incorporate oats into your breakfast or add barley to soups and stews. Eating whole grains provides that much needed fiber, which helps slow sugar absorption, supports a healthy gut, and promotes feelings of fullness. It also provides more vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, compounds that actually help fight inflammation. Making this shift doesn't have to be drastic. You can start by swapping one refined grain item per day for a whole grain alternative. Maybe switch your morning toast to whole wheat or try brown rice instead of white rice with dinner a few nights a week. Pay attention to how you feel afterwards. Many people find that including more whole grains helps stabilize their energy levels and improves digestion. It's about making informed choices that nourish your body and actively work to reduce that inflammatory burden, rather than adding to it. Choosing whole grains is a simple yet powerful way to support your body's natural anti-inflammatory processes and improve your overall well-being as you get older. Now, let's turn our attention to another group of foods that are incredibly common and often tempting, but which can be significant contributors to inflammation, especially as we age. These are fried foods. Think about French fries, fried chicken, donuts, onion rings, and many packaged snacks that are deep fried. While they might be delicious, the process of frying, particularly when done at high temperatures and using certain types of oils, transforms the food in ways that can promote inflammation in the body. One major issue with fried foods is the formation of those same advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, that we talked about with processed meats, but often at much higher levels. Frying involves cooking foods at very high temperatures, which accelerates the reaction between sugars and proteins or fats, leading to the formation of AGEs on the surface and throughout the food. The higher the cooking temperature and the longer the cooking time, the more AGEs are formed when you eat foods high in AGEs. These compounds can build up in your tissues over time. This accumulation is associated with increased oxidative stress and triggers inflammatory responses. AGEs are like tiny irritants that signal your immune system to go into alert mode, contributing to chronic low-grade inflammation throughout the body. This type of inflammation is implicated in the development and progression of many age-related conditions, including heart disease, cognitive decline, and joint problems. Another significant problem with fried foods is the type of oil often used for frying, especially in restaurants and fast food establishments, but sometimes even at home. Many commercial frying oils are hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, or unstable seed oils like soybean, corn, or sunflower oil that are heated repeatedly. These oils can contain or form trans fats when heated, which are particularly notorious for promoting inflammation. Even without trans fats, heating oils to high temperatures can damage them, creating oxidized fatty acids and other harmful compounds that are inflammatory when consumed. Furthermore, these oils are often high in omega-6 fatty acids. While omega-6s are essential, the typical Western diet already contains a very high ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. This imbalance promotes inflammation, and fried foods cooked in these oils contribute significantly to widening that gap. Consider the impact of regularly eating fried foods on someone over 60. You might notice that your joint pain seems worse after a meal with fries, or perhaps you experience digestive upset. Beyond these immediate effects, the cumulative exposure to AGEs, unhealthy fats, and inflammatory compounds from frequent fried food consumption is silently contributing to that underlying chronic inflammation. This chronic inflammation can make existing age-related issues worse and increase your susceptibility to new health problems. It's like constantly adding fuel to that hidden fire within your body. So, what are the better alternatives? It's not about never enjoying something crispy. It's about changing how that crispiness is achieved and how often you consume it. Instead of deep frying, try baking, roasting, air frying, or pan frying with a small amount of healthier fat like olive oil or avocado oil. Air frying, in particular, can give you that crispy texture with significantly less oil and lower temperatures compared to deep frying, reducing age formation and the intake of unhealthy fats. If you do fry at home, use a stable oil with a high smoke point, like avocado oil or coconut oil, and avoid reusing oil repeatedly. When eating out, try to choose grilled, baked, or steamed options instead of fried ones. Many restaurants now offer these choices. If you have a craving for fries, maybe share a small portion or opt for baked potato wedges instead. It's about conscious choices. Reducing the frequency of eating fried foods and choosing healthier cooking methods for the foods you prepare at home can dramatically decrease your exposure to inflammatory compounds. This simple dietary adjustment can go a long way in helping to reduce that chronic inflammatory burden and support your body in functioning more smoothly as you age. It's about prioritizing cooking methods that protect the nutritional value of your food rather than creating harmful byproducts. Making these shifts towards less fried, more gently cooked foods is a practical way to show your body some extra care after 60. Continuing our look at foods that can quietly cause inflammation. Let's shine a light on fats. Now, fats are absolutely essential for our health. Our brains need them. Our hormones need them. And they help us absorb vitamins. The key, however, is the type of fat. There's a category of fats that are widespread in packaged foods and used in many processed items. And these are often referred to as industrial seed oils. These include oils like soybean oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil, sunflower oil, and canola oil, especially when they've been refined, bleached, and deodorized, which is how they are typically processed for widespread use, while sometimes marketed as heart-healthy. The way they are produced and their high omega-6 fatty acid content can be problematic from an inflammatory perspective when consumed in excess and in the wrong balance with omega-3s. The processing of these oils often involves high heat and chemical solvents, which can damage the fatty acids, creating oxidized compounds even before they reach your kitchen or are used in food production. These oxidized fats are pro-inflammatory when consumed. But the bigger issue for many people is the sheer volume of these oils in the modern diet. They are inexpensive and widely used in processed snacks, baked goods, salad dressings, margarines, and convenience foods. As a result, most people consume a much higher ratio of omega-6 fatty acids abundant in these seed oils compared to omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish, flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. While both are essential and have vital roles, the ideal ratio in the body is thought to be much closer to 1:1, or maybe 4:1 omega-6 to omega-3. The typical Western diet often sees ratios of 15:1 or even higher, and this imbalance promotes chronic inflammation. Omega-6 fatty acids are precursors to molecules that can be pro-inflammatory, while omega-3 fatty acids are precursors to molecules that are anti-inflammatory. When the balance is heavily skewed towards omega-6s, the body's inflammatory response can become overactive and chronic. Think about how often you encounter these oils. They're in the crackers you might snack on, the cookies you buy, the dressing on your salad at a restaurant, the chips you enjoy, and the sauces in ready-made meals. Even if you're not actively cooking with them at home, you're likely consuming them regularly through processed and packaged foods. For someone over 60, this constant exposure to an imbalanced fat profile can contribute to that low-grade systemic inflammation that makes joints ache, affects cognitive function, and impacts cardiovascular health over time. It's a quiet, persistent push towards an inflammatory state that your body has to constantly work against. So, what's the alternative? It's about consciously reducing your intake of foods containing these highly processed seed oils and increasing your intake of beneficial fats, particularly omega-3s. Start by reading labels on packaged foods and choosing options made with healthier fats, or fewer ingredients overall. When cooking at home, swap out refined seed oils for extra virgin olive oil, great for lower heat cooking, dressings, and drizzling, avocado oil good for higher heat, or butter or ghee from grass-fed sources in moderation. Increase your intake of foods rich in omega-3s, like fatty fish salmon, mackerel, sardines a couple of times a week, ground flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. These omega-3 rich foods actively help to reduce inflammation and counterbalance the omega-6s. It's also worth noting that while some oils like sunflower and canola are high in omega-6, less refined versions or oils with a better balance of fats might be less problematic than the highly processed industrial versions. However, focusing on adding more anti-inflammatory fats from sources like olive oil, avocados, nuts, and seeds, while reducing the highly processed seed oils found in junk food, is generally the most impactful strategy. Making these adjustments to the fats in your diet can play a crucial role in calming that internal inflammatory storm. It's not about avoiding fat. It's about choosing fats that nourish and heal your body rather than contributing to inflammation. Finally, let's address one more major dietary culprit that can significantly contribute to inflammation, often lurking in places you might not expect. And it's particularly problematic for those over 60 trans fats. Now, thankfully, fully hydrogenated oils are less common these days, but partially hydrogenated oils, which are the main source of artificial trans fats, still appear in some foods. Although regulations are getting tighter in many countries, natural trans fats occur in small amounts in meat and dairy. And these don't seem to have the same harmful effects as artificial trans fats. Artificial trans fats are created through an industrial process that adds hydrogen to liquid vegetable oils to make them more solid. This process makes oils more stable and gives foods a desirable texture and longer shelf life, which is why they were widely used in things like margarine, shortenings, packaged baked goods, cookies, cakes, pastries, fried foods from certain restaurants, and some snack foods. The problem with artificial trans fats is that they are incredibly pro-inflammatory. They interfere with the body's ability to process healthy fats, disrupt cell membrane function, and directly trigger inflammatory responses. Numerous studies have linked trans fat intake to increased markers of systemic inflammation. They are considered by many health experts to be among the worst types of fat for health, contributing not only to inflammation, but also significantly increasing the risk of heart disease by raising bad cholesterol and lowering good cholesterol. For someone over 60 whose cardiovascular system may already be more vulnerable, consuming trans fats is like adding a direct inflammatory poison that specifically targets the heart and blood vessels. But the inflammation doesn't stop there. Like other inflammatory agents, trans fats contribute to the overall inflammatory burden that can exacerbate joint pain, affect brain health, and impact general vitality. The sneaky part about trans fats is that they might not be immediately obvious. You have to read the ingredient list. Even if a product is labeled 0 grams trans fat, it can still contain small amounts if it has partially hydrogenated oil listed in the ingredients, due to labeling laws that allow rounding down small amounts. While the presence of partially hydrogenated oils has decreased, they haven't disappeared entirely from all products or food environments. Fried foods from places that haven't updated their oil practices can still be a source. Packaged microwave popcorn, certain types of coffee creamers, and some ready-made doughs and frostings might still contain them. Think about a snack like store-bought cookies or crackers, a pastry from a less reputable bakery, or certain types of fast food. If they were made with partially hydrogenated oils, you were unknowingly contributing significantly to your body's inflammatory load. You might not feel a specific symptom immediately from trans fats alone, but their insidious effect is contributing to that chronic, underlying inflammation that makes your body feel older and less resilient than it could be. The best strategy here is to avoid artificial trans fats as much as possible. This means carefully reading ingredient lists and steering clear of anything that lists partially hydrogenated oil. Choose whole, unprocessed foods more often, as these naturally don't contain artificial trans fats when buying baked goods or fried foods. Ask what kind of fats or oils are used, or better yet, bake at home using healthier fats like butter or olive oil. Opt for natural margarines or spreads that are made with liquid oils and are specifically labeled as trans fat free. And check the ingredients to make sure they don't contain partially hydrogenated oils. Reducing or eliminating artificial trans fats from your diet is one of the most impactful steps you can take to lower inflammation and significantly improve your heart health. It requires a little vigilance when shopping and eating out, but the payoff in terms of reduced inflammatory burden and improved overall health is immense, especially for those navigating the years after 60. It's about protecting your body from these highly damaging fats that offer no health benefits and contribute significantly to inflammatory processes. So, we've talked about sugary drinks, processed meats, refined grains, fried foods, industrial seed oils, and artificial trans fats. These 6 food culprits, while common and often convenient, are notorious for quietly stoking the fires of inflammation in your body, potentially contributing to those aches, pains, fatigue, and other health challenges that seem to creep in as we age. It might feel overwhelming to think about changing your diet. But remember, it's not about being perfect overnight. It's about making gradual, sustainable changes. Each swap you make, choosing water over soda, opting for whole grains instead of refined ones, selecting fresh protein over processed meats, baking instead of frying, using olive oil instead of a highly processed seed oil, and avoiding foods with partially hydrogenated oils is a step towards reducing that inflammatory load and helping your body feel better. You have the power to influence how you feel every day through the food choices you make. Don't accept discomfort and low energy as just an unavoidable part of getting older. Your body is incredibly resilient, and by choosing foods that nourish and support it rather than irritate it, you can significantly improve your quality of life. Remember, small changes really can make a big difference to your health and happiness. Think about picking just one or two of these areas to focus on first. Maybe start by swapping your morning juice for water with lemon, or trying whole wheat bread instead of white. Once that feels comfortable, tackle the next one. This journey is about progress, not perfection. Your efforts are worth it. I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed that certain foods seem to make you feel worse? Are there any swaps you've already made that have helped? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your insights could help someone else in our community. If you found this information helpful and empowering, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more people who can benefit from this kind of information. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. We share lots of practical tips and advice, specifically tailored for living your best, healthiest life after 60. Don't miss out on future videos. Thank you so much for watching and spending this time with me. Keep making those positive choices for yourself. You deserve to live your best life at every age.